How you doing, everyone? This is Mr. J, and here I'm going to be explaining the Richet scale. More importantly, the rewatch factor. So the Richet scale is something that I came up with, and it's a way that I use to grade movies, both on my movie review podcast, Eye for an Hour with Mr. J, but also here on Mr. J's Big Book of Movies. So everything is done on a 5-point scale, and those points do have a definition. So first of all, for the rewatch factor, a score of 1 point means you have no business watching this movie a second time. For example, this movie. Giving a movie a score of 2 means you'll watch it with someone who's never seen it before, but pretty much you have no interest in watching the movie a second time. Kind of like this movie. A score of 3 points, what that means is that you'll watch it if it came on TV. Now remember, with TV, there's a lot of editing and stuff, so despite all the stuff that is edited out, you'll still enjoy the movie. Kind of like this movie. A score of 4, that pretty much means that this is one of your favorite movies. This is one of your go-to movies. You like it, you love it, and you don't have to worry about things because you love that movie. Kind of like this one. And last but not least, 5. If you give anything a score of 5, I always say this is Academy Award material. This means you love this movie so much, everybody on the planet needs to be aware of this movie. Kind of like this movie right here. And that's all I have to you today. Tune in next week and I'll be able to explain the Richet scale, talking about the storyline. Now for our feature presentation. Hello, Internet, and welcome to Mr. J's Big Book of Movies. Here I review movies, looking for the best of the best. The Big Book of Movies is actually a personal collection of my favorite movies that I would like to share with you. But not only is my quest just to share my likes, but also search for movies that should be in the Big Book of Movies. And today we're going to be taking a look at Misery. Misery was released November 30th, 1990. IMDb states that after a famous author is rescued from a car crash by a fan of his novels, he comes to realize that the care he is receiving is only the beginning of a nightmare of capacity and abuse. I agree with that. And I don't really know what else I can say to improve on the premise, so fine with me. So first we have the rewatch factor, the likelihood of watching the movie a second time. I actually gave this movie a 4. This is a personal go-to movie of mine. Every time I see it, whether on TV or whenever I want to see it personally, not a lot is edited out, so you can still watch it and enjoy it, and it's still going to be very cool. Next we have storyline. Storyline is the lifeblood of this movie, and I believe it flowed very well, which is why I gave it a 5. 5 is the highest score you could get, and yes, this is Academy Award material. I loved it. The storyline is great. I've never seen anything like it or since like it. That just shows the complexity that this movie has, and it should be celebrated. I appreciated the fact that it wasn't dumbed down for people to understand, although I didn't understand the whole pig thing. I didn't get that at all. Other than that, I feel there was the correct amount of emphasis on certain parts and smaller emphasis on other parts. And there's one part of the movie that I really got steamed about. We're going to talk about that later on. So, with that, once again, the score for storyline is a 5. As far as characters, it gets a 4. This is not Academy Award acting. People had better acting days. Now, this did put Kathy Bates on the map. She is one of the baddest bitches in Hollywood. And I love that. I appreciate that. She is very cool. With characters, the character development is done well. And there's a gripe I have that more so took it out on characters than storyline. And maybe I should have flopped it, but it still would have come up to the same score. And I'm saving that to the end. But the acting was very good. And maybe, Kathy Bates should have gotten an Oscar for that role. I looked it up, and Kathy Bates did win an Oscar for her role in this movie. So, hey, I called it right on the button. The other roles were about average. So, I do feel that Kathy Bates' character did carry the movie. And with that, combined, because we don't do it just per character, combined, I feel characters gets a 4. The look of the movie is a 4. It's not one of those movies where it looks current all the time. The film does look dated, but the film does look very well. The fact that there's a typewriter in there shows the age of the movie. The fact that there's a fax machine shows the age of the movie. The fact that people are still using landlines shows the age of the movie. So I don't think that hurts the movie, but it shows the age of the movie, which is why it gets a 4 for appearance. Finally, we have enjoyment. I enjoyed this movie. A 5, hands down. If people do not feel that this movie is a 5, we're going to have a conversation. Because this movie is immaculate. I love this movie. I will always love this movie. And saying this is Academy Award material, yes, it is. Now, with all that being said, with the rewatch factor being a 4, storyline being a 5, characters being a 4, appearance being a 4, and enjoyment being a 5, that equals a 22, and that 22 equals an A. So the last question is, does it get access into the big book of movies? No, it doesn't. And you want to know why? Because of the ending. The whole movie, we are searching for the main character, and what happens? He's on the floor with broken legs. The sheriff's on the floor, dead. She's on the floor, dead. And what's the very next thing that happens? The screen says 6 months later. What the hell kind of shit is that? We spent all this time looking for this guy, and at the end of the movie, he's not even found? No, you do not get access to the big book of movies. And that's final.